I'm from a metallurgy branch. So can metallurgy branch students can also make it to Google, or
Oh yeah, definitely.
can ECE background guy or civil or mechanical or maybe like electrical, civil, mechanical. I don't remember all sorts of branches, but maybe agricultural engineering or textile engineering or mining engineering. So or is the branch going to matter, or is it the skills that are going to matter? Well, interviewing a candidate at Google.
Oh yeah, when we try to interview candidate at Google, like this sort of like branch sort of culture is what we have more pressure in India. Even when I joined Triple IT, I'm not computer science. I joined as an electrical and communication guy. So this sort of like a branch is like, as you were saying, it's like kind of like we interview people starting from having a bachelor's in history. For example, in US history is like many people come with a history background, some people come with a finance background, and even some people do come from BPC background. Like they study like BPC college, and then they decide like, hey, I want to experiment with technology in biology, which is like they will end up in like biotech in their MTech or something. And then after that, they think that, oh, there are enough problems that Google is also solving in biotech company, and then that's how we will interview them. So when we were interviewing them, we won't look at resume at all. It's all like we will directly focus them on like how their problem solving skills are, and if you can solve a problem, then yeah, you're good to go. And all these sort of skills that you acquire, like not just with like, I mean, when I mention problem solving, it includes like building your basics in algorithms and as well as applying them to certain sort of language, C, C++, Python, Java, or whatever. So if you have these enough skills acquired, then Google is ready to take you. They won't even care like which college you're coming from, which region you're coming from, and all. So Google has branches like throughout the, I mean, all the countries that we have, and which will, if you are really smart, will just acquire you, like saying, hey, you're good to go. We don't care about your branch. Even in fact, I don't want to give this as an inspiration, but once in 2012 we finished our bachelor's degree and I got my degree, but I didn't take it from Triple IT till now. They didn't even ask. Once I got placed, I am right now at Google, and still my degree is with the Triple IT. I just have to get them something. So this is how they treat you. Once you're good at what you're doing, then they don't care about your branch and all those things. Yeah, and even from Triple IT, like the metallurgical branch that you mentioned, like I have a close friend from NIT Warangal, and right now he's at Google. He's working in Google like for the last 2 years, and he was with the company Facebook for like another 4 years. So this is sort of importance they give, and he's very good at problem solving. Initially, he was like, hey, how to solve all these problems. I don't have background in computer science, but within a year he picked up pretty fast and he kind of liked it, how to solve this problem, how to, oh, this coding is pretty interesting. Like imagine like there is a big problem and sometimes you use like pen and paper to solve. Now you can just code it and give it to it. So he kind of liked it, and he right now is like a software engineer, but his background is metallurgy in Google. So
Ashok, I think at Google, so there is some round called as Googliness round. Maybe can you talk about what is this Googliness round? And I have also heard that there is a lunch interview round. So I mean, what is lunch interview round and what is Googliness round? So what sort of things happen during those rounds? Maybe you can talk a little bit more, Ashok.
oh yeah, right. Like when we bring the candidate to the on-site interview, like we won't schedule all the 3 to 4 rounds at one shot. We won't lock him in the room, and like interviewers keep on changing every month. So every 1 hour he'll have like a 15-minute break, and after 2 interviews, then we will schedule a lunch interview with him so that he can talk with another Googler and be comfortable with the entire company. Like how he can ask in the lunch interview, most of it happens in like not in a very serious manner. It's like in a very friendly manner. He can talk with Googlers like what they're working on and what technologies they work and which areas they do and how's the Googler life and all. In my lunch interviews, like apart from the coding interviews and all, I keep take lunch interviews occasionally so that I can see the candidate, and that sort of lunch interview will help the candidate to like to boil down all the pressure that he had like from the first 2 rounds of interview so that we can make him prepare for the next 2 rounds. So it's also like our responsibility to not to scare the candidate in like, hey, we are asking like tough questions, but we'll ask him like how did the 2 interviews go, and if he says like, oh, they're like pretty tough, we'll try to encourage him for like next 2 rounds of interview. It's not like you will be evaluated and you have to score like 100 out of 100 in all the 4 rounds of interview. If you're good at like even like 2, 3 out of 4 interviews, if you are very strong, and even if you are unable to like perform good in one round, so yeah, he can actually share all those things with the other Googler and get an idea like, hey, how did you guys perform and how you're asking it all. So these are like a friendly sort of interview. And yeah, the Googliness interview is more of like to see like how this candidate is good at. Like we definitely won't look for the candidate who is like kind of like always in stress mode or like trying to compare himself to others. We in that Googliness we always try to determine how he is focused on his improvement. Like if the candidate is good at like his own self improvement, we will know like okay, he can perform well in the team projects and how friendly he is. And these are like other communication skills which they are not necessarily bigger portion like the coding interviews, but yeah, we'll try to kind of evaluate the candidate, how friendly he is and how he can handle when he joins our team. So that way we can give some feedback to the HR saying that hey, this candidate is really good and he's not like too much worried about like all these additional factors that are there, but he's focused on like his sort of interview, and we kind of need like a sort of like determination and discipline. Yeah, these sort of things we'll try to evaluate in Googliness.
So Googliness round is in short, it's more to understand the personality or attitude of the candidate rather than
That's right.
testing out his or her like technical prowess, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Ashok, I have also heard that in Googliness round, if somebody is not a good fit, irrespective of his or her technical abilities, so there is a high chance that Google says no. Is it true, or can you talk a little bit more on that?
Oh yeah, that's that's also like kind of like a myth buster. But if a candidate is really good in solving the problems and all those things, he typically possesses like decent amount of googliness. I mean, this googliness is like a term, like mostly let's use the term more like discipline, friendly, and all these things, and his personality and attitude rather than all the things. So yeah, if the candidate is really good at problem solving, and if he's good at, he will most of the time he'll be good at the rest of the stuff. So it's kind of easy. But the things that if a HR comes back to you and say, hey, you're not googly, then it kind of like a negative feedback to you. Like unless some candidate, like if we kind of determine the candidate is actually trying to solve the problem, especially in the, I mean, using like video conferencing like Zoom or Hangout, if he tries to solve the problem using like looking at some online website or like Stack Overflow or something, then we will say that, hey, this candidate is not a trustworthy candidate. So all we want is like how good he is when he's on the screen or when we talk with him. So that sort of googliness is what we refer to.
Awesome. Thanks for clarifying that, Ashok. So
then my hand started shaking and I thought like, oh, okay, I can't solve this problem with like directly. And I was keep on thinking like all sort of things in my mind, like, okay, can I solve it in like 45 minutes? Can I solve it in like whatever? And like after 5 minutes, the interviewer mentioned to me like, hey, don't worry about it. Drink some water. Take your time. You still have like this. It's like a formal procedure where we have like a 45 minutes to 1 hour. And don't worry about it. I'm not looking at your resume. I don't know what's your GPA is and all. I just asked her this question. Think about it as my friend. So let's both of us try to solve this problem. So the way interview process works is like, we will ask you a question and then we will see how you are actually thinking in solving that problem. It's not just like we will ask you directly, hey, just code it and throw it on my face, right? We will always see like how you guys proceed like step by step. You don't need to give like optimal solution directly up front. So if you start showing like you are capable of solving this problem efficiently, say suppose if you solve the problem in like O of big O of n square, then we will think about it and we'll ask, oh, okay, that's really good. You really solved it. You did a right code for it. Can you solve it a little bit better? Or even if you can't solve it, we'll always think about like how you're approaching the problem. So in order to develop that approach, in order to solve the problem, unless you're good at your basics, you don't know how to approach. So in order to solve a problem with like say suppose you want to apply like a queue or like binary search tree or any sort of algorithm, you need to have a good understanding of those. So whenever you have a good understanding of those, in those 45 minutes to 1 hour, we will try to see how good you are. So how good you are with concepts and how you're applying these concepts to this particular question. So and how you get that, how you approach that, it all depends on how good you are in acquiring those skills and reapplying them in the interview. So yeah, we won't try to judge the candidate like, hey, if you won't solve it like in co-often, like okay, you are kind of like not selected for Google. Even some of the problems when we keep asking the candidate, we will try to solve with him together. Like we will sort of give him hints. Oh, you solved it like this. Why can't you think about in so and so manner? Why don't you apply for this? If you are really good at it, interviewers will encourage you in solving the problem. So it's a similar way how we work in a company. If we are solving a project, it's like not like we'll come up with an idea and we'll implement it and everyone will clap at it. It's like your managers or your TLs or your co-workers will discuss with you, you will retune it and fine-tune it and you will end up. A similar way interview also happens. It will happen in a very friendly manner. And the way you develop those things is by doing like mock interviews and all those things. So once you acquire those skills, then you will meet like so many like-minded people through this platform. And then you guys can have like mock interviews. And after a period of time, you'll get comfortable with it. So when you are trying to solve a problem in the interview, think about yourself. Think about the problem. Don't think about like you or like the interviewer face or like the surroundings. So always think about the problem and focus yourself on the problem. Like if you are focused, then as an interviewer, we'll know, okay, this candidate is focusing on the problem, not about like how I am looking or like the other factors that you have in the interview. So yeah, that will take some time, but you guys have like enough time. Like from the first next 3 years, once in a while you can do like mock interviews or like prepare on what skills you acquire. So try to practice it with your other friends as well. So that way it will make it easy. And don't get scared about interview process. It's all like very friendly. All the interviewers that you see are like, they won't try to send you back. We always try to see if the candidate is really good. We will try to encourage him and bring the talent out of him so that we can acquire him. It's like the way you need Google, Google also needs you. So we are investing our time in order to bring you inside you. So we really want to see how good you are capable.
In a way, to summarize what Ashok has said, so Google needs like talent. So they are on lookout for talent. That's the reason